Hello, good morning. This is Esrat from Client Service Help Desk, and we're going to slowly start the AirWatch webinar. We're just waiting for more participants to join us. So yeah, if you can hear me, if you could kindly go ahead and say your name or hello on the comment section. You'll have to sign in on to the right side, or usually at the bottom where it says sign in to comment. So yeah, we'll start momentarily. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for joining us. All right, I'm just going to repeat the same thing again. We're just going to hold off the AirWatch webinar for a few more minutes. We just want more participants to join us, then we will shortly start with this. And if you could just say hi or just say your name so I know that you can hear me. All right, thanks. All right, we will take off in 2 minutes, just waiting for a few more participants to join us. All right, we're going to take off right now. So, good morning. I hope you all had a good day start. Okay, so my name is Esrat, and I'm going to host the AirWatch webinar for you today. And I've been working with Client Service Desk for 2 years. So what are we going to talk about today is just a AirWatch and get you comfortable with the AirWatch environment and show you ways how you can use AirWatch to manage your iPads. So without further delay, so before we get into this, I just wanted to show you in a couple of things here. So before we begin, just so you know, this webinar is recorded, and you will be able to see this video after. Once we are done with the webinar, you can use the same YouTube link to view this. So in case if you missed a point or you just want to go over something after this session is done, you can use the same YouTube link. And secondly, there is a 10-second delay. So if you are asking a question and if it's taking me or my colleague who's answering the questions for you, if it takes us about 10 seconds, it's due to that delay. And feel free to ask any question in the chat. We will try our best to get to it. Okay, and if you notice that the text is sort of blurry and you're not able to really see it, you can actually play around with the quality of the video. So if you look over to the slide, there's a quality button. So if you click on the gear sign right here on the YouTube, you'll be able to adjust the quality of the video. So if you click on the quality, this will come up. So the most preferred one is either 720 or 1080. But again, it will sort of affect your network connection, so you might see it buffering a lot. So depending on your connection, whichever best suits your need, go ahead and use that one. And lastly, make sure you have the live button, the red mark dot on your YouTube, because if you don't have this, what it means is you could be either behind or you might not be live. So you might not see the live version of this. So what are we doing today? Why are we having this webinar? So the main objectives are, the reason we are having this, we want the school to get familiarized with the AirWatch environment, and we want to show you how you can manage your iPads and how easy it is. And we would also like to show you the key benefits of it and what is AirWatch offering for TDSP and how you can use it from day-to-day basis in your school. So what is AirWatch? So AirWatch is actually an application which allows you to manage your mobile devices. So in our case, it's iPad. It allows us to manage our iPads from a single web-based application. It makes it easier in terms of setting it up and as well configuring it or managing it. So often you will hear that AirWatch is being referred as a MDM. What it means is Mobile Device Management System, or EMM, Enterprise Mobility Management System. It really doesn't matter what it is referred as. It basically means the same thing. It is a centralized environment for configuring and managing your iPads. What are the benefits? So you no longer have to worry about authenticating onto the Wi-Fi. Once a device is on AirWatch, it will automatically connect to WLAN TDSP. And the app installation part is the most important part. So if you have 60 iPads, rather than going through each iPads for installing the app, you could just push out apps to multiple iPads within minutes using the AirWatch console. And if you have used Configurator, you would know how painful that is. So this actually makes it much more easier. And the experience. So experience between your iPad 1 to iPad 2, it's consistent. So there is no difference. It will have same background, same feel, and you have more control over it. You can organize the iPads in same manner too. And the built-in security policy. So we would often get the most calls that we get regarding the current iPads are that student placed a passcode on it and teachers are having difficulty unlocking the device. So what will happen is that device goes into disable mode and then you had to connect it to iTunes. Or what we also noticed was that an unauthorized Apple ID was used. In that case, you had to contact Apple to get it disassociate from that iPad. With AirWatch, you no longer have to worry about that, because once a device is on AirWatch, by default, those permissions are restricted. And when we are actually going in depth into this webinar, I will show you how this is. And secondly, and most importantly, it's remote wireless configuration and update. So you don't need to have all your iPads in front of you. So you can be sitting at home, or you could be somewhere other than the school, and you could send instruction using AirWatch, or you can send commands to your iPads. So for example, please install this app, or update the iOS on the iPad using AirWatch. And you no longer need Apple ID. So to purchase app, or to validate anything, you no longer need to use Apple ID. It's all done through AirWatch. So before, if you change Apple ID, if there were 60 iPads that were using the same Apple ID, it was a potential problem. So now you no longer have to worry about it. Hello, Jen. I see more participating joining us, and I just want to thank you all for your time. Once again, this video is recorded, so if you did miss a certain portion of it, the link will be available. So the same YouTube link, you can use the same link once this webinar is done to go back and recap on all the sections. So who can log into AirWatch? Principal by default can log into AirWatch, and principal can choose who they want to grant permission to AirWatch as an administrator. To do that, they have to sign into LAS, Local Administration System, and they can simply add the person using LAS. It's a group called EMM. And just so you know, it can take up to 12 to 24 hours for the administrator to have access to this console. So today, what are we going to do? So we're going to demo how to navigate through the AirWatch console. We're going to show you how you can organize your iPads using smart groups. And lastly, we're going to show you how to add an app, remove an app, how to add a web clip on your iPads. So before we jump into this, I also like to mention, I'm just going to show you what AirWatch does to the environment or to your iPad. So I'm just going to switch over to my iPad right now. Just 1 second. Looks like my iPad is not connected, so I'm just going to connect it right now. If you have any difficulty hearing me, or if I'm going too fast for you, just let me know. Okay, so now I'm in my iPad. Let me just show you what it does. So right now, this device is on AirWatch, and you can see the background is blue. So once your device is on AirWatch, the background will switch to blue, and that's basically same for all the iPads. And we have two important apps right here. One is Agent and one is Catalog. The Agent apps is actually the most important one, which allows your device to talk to the AirWatch. And without signing onto this device right now, this is on its basic mode. So I'm going to go over to the settings section, and I'm going to show you what are the restriction on this iPad, so you have a better understanding of what the students will not have access to and how secure this iPad is. So to first begin with, you can see the Wi-Fi is WLAN TDSB. So I was mentioning that you no longer have to authenticate every time you're using the iPad. By default, once this device or any device that's on AirWatch, it should connect to WLAN TDSB. And then now, see, we had an option to set up passcode before on our iPads. So I'm going to go slowly over so that you can see. See, this passcode option is right now not available. You can see also the iCloud option is also grayed out. And the reason that is because it's the restriction. By default, this is all turned off so that student does not have access to it. So I'm going to get out of the screen right now. And I'm going to show you that the App Store icon is not available. So I'm going to switch between the first screen and then the second screen. So in order for you to have the App Store, you need to sign into the Agent app. Who can sign into the Agent app? Any teacher can sign into the Agent app. So any staff member can sign into the Agent app. Students' login will not be accepted. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in right now. I'm just going to switch over my screen because I don't want it to show my password, and it does that with the iPad. So I'm just going to let it load. So for username, you need to type in your employee number. I'm going to type in mine, and I'm just going to switch over the screen while I'm typing in the password. Sorry, I have a lengthy password. It takes a bit of time. Okay, I'm gonna switch over the screen again so that you can see it. Okay, I'm gonna log in right now. Once again, it depends on the connection too, so it takes a bit time for this to load. Okay, so you can see I have the success message on the screen. This tells me currently I am logged in, it accepted my credential. So once this loads up, I will just show you. So it tells me what this iPad is named, or whether this device is enrolled or not. And yeah, so I'm going to get out of the screen and I'm going to show you after I log in what do I have access to right now. So right now you can see, first thing, I have access to the App Store. So without logging into the App Store, without logging into the agent, you will not have access to the App Store. And the reason we did that, because we don't want students to have the ability to install an app or to remove an app. And then secondly, I'm going to go into settings. So in settings, now if I hover over, you can see I have access to passcode now. And then I can enable or turn on passcode option. By default, it's turned off. And if you want to set up passcode, you could use this method to turn on passcode for each device. And then I have iCloud option also enabled here. So it was grayed out initially. You could set up your iCloud accounts right here. And then I just also want to highlight this catalog app. This is important because this actually shows you the mandatory apps by default that needs to be on the iPad, or you want just that specific app to be available on demand. So you don't want it to be pushed out automatically to the iPad, but it's presented as an option for installation. It will also appear here. So for example, here I have AirWatch Agent. This is one of the mandatory app. It says install because I have it installed here. But if I didn't have it installed, it will have an option to say install it. Okay, so this is basically it. Also, one last thing. Before you hand over your iPad to a student, you want to sign out of the agent because you want to make sure that they don't have access to those security options or security features. So once you're logged out, it will slowly take off those permissions from that window. Just gonna wait for it to load, then I can show you. Sometimes it does take a bit time for it to refresh. Okay, so you can see right now that it comes back to this screen, and then now my App Store is gone, and those, let me exit out of that. Okay, I'm gonna go back in here. I'm gonna click on settings again, and then once again, the passcode option is gone and iTunes is grayed out. Okay, so let me now move over to my other screen where I have my slides up. Okay, so who can log in? So we covered who can log in. Now, how does the logging in works? So to log in, you don't need to be at the school. You can log in practically from anywhere on the web, so not just within TDSB. And currently, there are no browser limitations, so you could use Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, or Safari. So you will be able to log in without any problem. And we do have a username format that you must follow. So for username, you have to use TDSB. That is not case sensitive. So you could use small letter TDSB or capital letter TDSB /. It's the one right above the enter key, and you type in your employee number and then your network password. So when you're logging in for the first time, you will be asked to set up a 4-digit PIN on the first login. And that's only for the first time. And the reason is because sometimes you need to perform an administrative task on the iPads, such as, erasing a device or, updating the iOS. You might be prompted. I don't think it's for the iOS. It's mostly for erasing the device. You will be asked to key in that 4-digit PIN. And if for some reason you forgot that PIN, you can call client service desk, and we can reset the PIN for you. However, we believe in future you will have the option to reset the PIN by yourself. We're actually testing it out at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to click on the link here. So the link is https://cn239.awmdm.com. I know that it's a bit tricky link. So what we did underneath the YouTube video, we posted the link for you. So if you like, you can click on from there too. So I'm just going to switch over and show you how to log in to the AirWatch console. Okay, so this is the first screen that you'll notice, and here's the link right here. So to log in, I will use TDSB /. So it can be TDSB this way or small letter. It doesn't really matter. Your employee number, and then I'm going to type in my network password. Okay, and I'm going to log in. Now, I will not get, so if you're logging in for the first time, you might see the terms and condition page. I do not have it at the moment. The reason is because this is not my first time logging in. So essentially it actually looks like this. Okay, so it looks like this. What you have to do, and this is only if you're logging in for the first time, you just have to accept the terms and condition, and that's it. So yeah, if you don't see the screen, that just means you have logged in previously. And then secondly, you're gonna see the screen to create a 4-digit PIN. And as I was telling you, the reason you have to create this PIN is just to perform the administrative task, and this PIN does not relate to any other person, so you don't have to share this PIN with anyone else. So suppose if you have 2 or 3 administrators at the school, you don't have to share it with them. This is just specific to your account. So once you set that PIN up, you're going to confirm that security PIN, and you're going to click save. Okay, gonna exit out of this. So now I'm going to give you guys a few more minutes, a minute or so, just to, if you're logging in for the first time, just so you can set this part up. And if this is not your first time, let us know, then we can proceed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and proceed right now. So what you see right now, this is called the AirWatch dashboard. It's a basic overview of your AirWatch environment for your school. I actually have 2 roles here, so I'm going to switch over to my test school environment so it makes more sense. So right now, this is my environment for my test school. Slowly, it will load up all the graphic details. And it actually gives you a statistical overview. It contains like the statistic information regarding your devices that are currently enrolled on this. So right now, I have 3 devices enrolled, and it's showing me important information such as whether the devices have passcode in it or not. So for example, here I have 3 devices, and you can see I have 2 devices that has no passcode on it. I have 1 device that has passcode set up on it. And if you want an environment where you want to set up all passcode, you can come in here and see how many devices are missing that passcode. All you have to do, you have to simply click on it, and it will tell you which device is missing that. So for example, here it shows me 2 devices that I have set up I have no passcode on, and you can actually see on the left corner it has actually applied a filter where it says show me devices that has no passcode on it. So that's actually one of the neat feature, which it takes you in depth as to you want to see at a device level as to which ones are missing it in a list view. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go back to the dashboard again. Okay, and then the second section is last in overview. What this section tells you is basically when was the last time this device communicated with AirWatch. And the reason it's important because you want to see whether your devices are in good health or in good condition in terms of AirWatch. So if a device, so here if you see a breakdown, if any device that falls into the category of not being seen in 8 to 15 days or greater than 31 days, what it means is that that device is either stolen or missing. Or it could just mean that it's not talking to AirWatch. Then you could dive down and do more troubleshooting as to why is it not talking to AirWatch. And then we have the section of operating system breakdown here. So the latest currently is 10.1. So you can see I have two of my devices that are on 10.1 and I have one of my device that's on 9.2. And the reason this is important because you always want to make sure your device, your iPads are always on the latest iOS, because then the apps will not be compatible, then you might run into problem. So you can come in here and you can see which device needs to be upgraded to the latest iOS. Keep in mind though, some device, depending on the model, it can only take a certain level of update. So if I go into here, it will tell me which device it is that needs to be updated. So see how once again it applied the filter, device type, Apple iOS, and then OS version 9.2. So this is actually a little cool feature which gives you a statistical overview, and you could just look into it and have a graphical understanding or like a pictures in there saying, okay, this is how my environment look, whether it's healthy, whether something needs to be updated or not. Now we're going to move to the list view section. So the list view section, the name explains it, it gives you a list overview of all your devices, all the devices that are in my environment. So for example, at the beginning I mentioned that I have 3 devices in my environment, and you can see here that I have 1, 2, 3 devices here, and it actually shows me important information too. So remember how I was showing you in dashboard last seen. So here it actually has that too. So you can see here last seen 28 seconds ago, 8 minutes ago, 12 days ago. And general information contains the friendly name of an iPad. It is always important for you to have a friendly name for your iPad, because how many people will remember a serial number? So if you look here, I can remember, okay, I have a psychology iPad, or I have a library iPad 2 and it's in cart 1. So it really simplifies the process for you. You don't have to go in and type in the serial number every time you're going in. But look at this one. This one is going by a serial number. So it's not really helping me because all the serial number potentially looks the same. Then we have platform, whether it's an Apple iOS. So right now we are only dealing with Apple products, so you'll only see the Apple iOS. And then it will tell you whether it's iPad Air or iPad 4th Gen or iPad Air, and it also tells you whether it's like 32 gigabytes or a higher level memory. It tells you silver, black, what's the color on it. And the user section tells you who logged in. So remember how first when I was demoing, I noticed someone asked, how do we name the iPads? So to name the iPads, I will cover that section also once I go in depth. I'm going to show that part when we're dealing with one device. So that's coming. So we will answer that question. So to get back, who's the user who last logged in? So on my iPad, when I first showed you on the agent app, let me see if my iPad is still connected. If it is still connected, that's good. No, it's not connected. So my iPad, initially when I connected to my computer, there was an agent app with the shield. So whoever logs into that iPad to open up that restriction part, like the passcode or the app store, whoever's last signed in, it will show up here. It will tell you who that user was. So that's important because if you want to find out, hey, I organized the iPad this way, who was the last person to log in, to manage it, you can come in here and have a basically track record of it. And then enrollment tells you whether the device is on AirWatch or not, whether it's enrolled or not. If it was in progress, it will also tell you here. Okay, now that we have covered list view, let's move to a details view. So what a details view is, if you just want to deal with one specific device, you click on, the details view actually allows you to do that. So in order for me to go to details view, I'm going to select one of the iPad from here. So I'm going to select my library iPad 2 cart 1. This will take me to the details view of this device. So if you want to just manage or have a control as per just one device, you will come into this window. So what are the things that are available here? First thing is app. So the app section tells you here how many apps are automatically pushed to this iPad. So by default, for my school, for my smart group, for my profile, the apps that I want the iPads to have. So for example, I want by default 2 apps to have on my iPads, and it tells me yes, 2 out of 2 got installed in here. Then it has information, device related information, which organizational group it's part of. So in my case it says test school. For you it will say most likely your school name here. And then smart group, we will talk about smart group more into details, but smart group allows you to basically organize your iPads. So suppose if you have a grade 3 iPads, or if you have a grade 5 iPads, or say you have in my case I want cart 1 to have specific apps, I would create a smart group to do that. And then it tells you the serial number of your iPads, and then the power status, how much battery is remaining. Just keep in mind though, I noticed a pattern. If your device is on 10.1, sometimes it will say the battery status, but if it's on 9.1 or like an older iOS, it will not say the power status or the power status on it. And the storage capacity, the physical memory on it, and lastly the available OS update. So if there is a pending update on it, right now I have 10.1 on it, so it's not telling me there is any latest update available on it. But if there was one that is available, it would show up here. So Suzanne, you were asking how do we name the iPad? So this is the section. So the details view has one of the neat feature of that is that you can manage the iPad using this window. So if you just want to deal with one iPad, you want to configure it, or you want to perform a certain action on it, will updates be automatic? Are you referring to the iOS updates? If no, the updates are not automatic. You will have to apply the updates either by going into the iPad, or you can push it out using the AirWatch console. It's actually much more easier to do it using your AirWatch console, and I will show you where you can do that from. So let's move over to the section of more action. So this tab right here, the more action tab, if you click on it, you will see there is clear passcode, there is management, there is admin. So these are the most important ones that we're gonna use. So let's first start with how to edit a device. So the part where I was telling you how you can assign a friendly name to your iPad, you can do it from here. So for example, I have library iPad 2 cart 1. Suppose I wanted to give it another friendly name to it. So I could just simply say library iPad number 5, and it's in cart 1. Once I do this, and what it will do, it will change the name on my iPad as well. So right now, most likely my iPad is showing the old name. I'm just going to connect to my iPad and show you vice versa. What's the difference? So let me switch over. Okay, so if I go into settings right now, and if I go into about, you can see it still has the old name, library iPad number 2 cart 1. Now let me switch over again and show you what happens after I apply the change. So right now I'm going to name it library iPad 5 cart 1, set friendly name as device name. So what this does is that I don't want this name to be just shown on the AirWatch. I also want it to be applied on the iPad. To do that, you'll have to check this. And then leave everything the same way. We don't have to touch any of this. And then once I click save, this should apply the change on my iPad. So I named it library iPad cart 1. This, see, right now it's also reflected on my AirWatch environment. It says library iPad 5 cart 1. Now let's switch over to our iPad to see whether it got reflected over on the iPad. So I'm switching over. So again, about there. So you can see library iPad 5 cart 1. So this is very momentarily. It takes effect within few seconds or within few minutes. So that's the cool part about it. Okay. So let's switch back again. Now let's talk about the iOS update. So you were asking, I believe it was Suzanne. So Suzanne, you were asking how do you apply the updates, whether it's automatic or not. So the iOS update, if you click from here, it will send the iOS update to your device. So if I click this is the screen that will come up. Device installation method, download and install the software update. Once I send it, it will say success. However, the reason it's not going to do anything right now because my iPad is updated to the latest version. Let's talk about the lock feature right here. Don't know if you can see it. So the lock features. So by default, all the TDSB iPads are set to no passcode. But suppose if you have environment where you would like all your iPads to have passcode on it, and say you have a student who you want to just put down the iPad and pay attention to you, and they're not, you could use this feature and lock the iPad. What it will do, it will put it to the lock screen where it will ask you for the passcode. My device currently do not have any passcode set up on it, so what it will do, it will put it to home screen. Now suppose if you have 60 iPads and in order for you to enable passcode on each single of device is very time consuming. So if you want that environment to be available for you, just log a ticket to us and we'll make sure that profile is set up for your school so that you can have passcode set up on your iPads rather than you having to go to each device and setting up manually. And then we have clear passcode. So if there's a passcode on a device and you want to remove it, you could use this and remove the passcode from it. If I click on this, it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to continue? I'm going to click OK, and it will tell me the passcode was successfully removed from the device. I'm going to click OK. And then lastly, another important one was enable lost mode. So suppose if you have iPads that by mistake a teacher forgot and left it on a desk and you're not able to find it, what you can do, you can use this feature right here, and what this will do then, it will actually put your device to a lock mode. Regardless of whether you have passcode or not, it will just lock the device and it will put a message on it saying, so let's try it out. So I'm going to click on this and I can put a message saying, please return this iPad to music room 201. And then once I send this over to my iPad, it will lock my iPad. So let me just show you what my iPad is doing right now so you have a better understanding of how it takes place. Okay, so this is my iPad right now. So right now this is sitting on this screen, and then the moment I apply that, the moment I send this, it will lock my iPad. So you can see here, it puts a lock on it. It says lost iPad. Please return this iPad to music room 201. Now, even if I press on it, even if I do anything to it, it will not do anything. I'm touching on the iPad right now. It's not doing anything. The only way I can take this lock off from it, I would have to come into my AirWatch environment and I have to command here saying, please remove the lock. So to do that, you come back to more action here. Still says enable lost mode, so I'm just going to refresh the page right now. Okay, and then I'm going to click on more action tab again, and now here you can see disable lost mode. So once I click on disable lost mode, it will take off that message from my iPad and my iPad will be back to normal. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And then I'm gonna click OK, and the moment I click OK, I'm gonna switch over to my iPad just to show you what it does. There you go. It says iPad located, and the location of iPad was sent to Toronto District School Board at 12:09. So yeah, and I'm gonna click continue. There you go. So my iPad is back to normal. So this is one of the cool things that you could do in case if you're not able to locate your iPad or you want someone to bring over your iPad to you. Okay. Now, what we're gonna talk about is apps and books. So once again, these are the three important functionality within AirWatch. Devices contains information about your device. We talked about dashboard, which gives you a statistical overview of your AirWatch environment. And then we have list view, which shows you list of all your device. And then through list view, you can go into details view, which allows you to manage one device at a time. So meaning if you want to perform a configuration, or if you want to set up an iPad, or you want to set up a specific command to that one specific iPad, you could do it through list view, then to details view. Let's now move over to apps and books. So the apps and books section, it contains apps that are available within the entire TDSB AirWatch environment. Now, if you just want to see what apps are available just for your school, you would go into apps, books. By default, it's going to be in list view. You're going to hover over to the search list option right here, and you're going to type in your school name. Now, you could type in the school trillium number. You could type in the 4-digit trillium number, or you could type in the school name. So for my test school, it's 9991. If I search it by that, it should bring up all the apps that are available. And the way you know that these are the apps for your school, it will highlight over the trillium number. I can also show you what happens if I type in my school name here. So my school is called Test. And once I type that and press enter, it will bring up the same result. So there, rather than highlighting the trillium number, it's highlighting the test school here. So this actually shows me, this actually shows me what are the apps that are available for my school in AirWatch at the moment. So going forward, if you need to request a free app or purchased app, you need to fill up a form. I know that it's a bit cumbersome to fill up the form for free apps, but it's the same process. And the reason is we actually have to, for each free apps, we request 500 copies for it. So that's why we request that you fill up the form. And the form that I'm referring to, it's actually, we provided the link for you underneath of the YouTube video. It's this form right here that you need to fill in. And here it goes, your school name, then your name, and then your role, and the email address. Now, I just wanted to highlight one thing. The cost center, it only, even though it has a asterisk beside it, which says this is one of the mandatory field, for free apps, you could just put NA, not available, and same thing for general ledger, NA. And that sort of tells our teaching and learning department that this is a free app. We're going to remove it very soon, but for purchased app, you're going to put in the cost center number and the general ledger number. Usually the office administrator will know about it. And how the process works is, once you fill up this form, right now you can actually put in 3 app titles here. We're trying to increase the limitation to more, so that it gives you more advantage. But yeah, once you fill this form up, it goes to teaching and learning department, and then it takes them 12 to 72 hours for them to install the app to the AirWatch console. So the apps does not get automatically installed to your iPad. Once they send you an email saying now the apps is available on AirWatch, what they mean is that it will then show up right here once you type in your school name. And then you can come in here and you can push it out to your iPads. Now, if you have apps that you have previously purchased using your school mobile G account, it will not appear here. We have created smart groups using those app names under groups and settings section. I will show you where it is at the end of the webinar, and the reason is because I just don't want to move back and forth between the screen to confuse you. So let's just cover what we have here right now. So, and the web clip section allows you to create web clips. So for example, suppose if you have a page that you frequently access, and you would like a shortcut of it placed. So for example, on your desktop, if you have a Outlook web email, back in the days when we used to use webmail, we now switched over, but you created a shortcut to that on your desktop. Same thing applies for iPads. If there is a link that a student access frequently, or you teacher is accessing it frequently, you could send a web clip. You could set it up using your AirWatch environment. Now that we are already in this section, I'm gonna show you how can you push out an app from this section. Also, you could see on the left corner the books. We do not have the option to purchase book at the moment, but you could push out EPUBs or ebooks using the book section. It has a tab called Add Book, and we have done a PDF test, but if you want to play with it, you can click on the Add Book and you could push out the PDF or EPUBs using this link. So let me show you now. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay. Actually, before I go over to how to push out an app, I just need to show you the groups and setting tabs. So the groups and setting tabs, it contains the list of all the smart groups in your school. And I'm going to click on here. And under group section, I have organizational group and assignment group. Organization group does not matter to us, so we're just gonna talk about assignment groups here. So assignment groups allows you to create smart groups, and it's for really to manage your iPad, to better manage your iPads. So to add a smart group, you're gonna come in here and you're gonna click on add smart group. Right now these are my smart groups that I have created. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add a smart group. To add a smart group, you're going to click on Add Smart Group. You're going to be given with two options: select criteria, select device or user. You're going to select device or user. The select criteria is a bit complicated. Here it tells you whether you want to add the device based on their iOS or based on their configuration or who logged in, sort of like in depth of it, but it's easier to do it by device or user. So I'm gonna click OK. Once I come into this section, I'm going to provide a friendly name to my device. Provide a friendly name to my smart group. And if you're following along with me, I would suggest that you refrain or you avoid from creating any smart group at the moment, because a smart group should only be related to your school. We might be creating a test one, but at the end it might throw the other person off, whoever is dealing with it in the future. So here I'm going to provide a name to my smart group. I'm going to call it grade 3 apps, grade 3 language class, or grade 3, actually I'm going to put it English class. And then once I provide that name, it gets assigned for my smart group name. Then I'm going to come to the device section. Once you click on the device, it's going to provide you with the drop down menu of what are the devices that are available for your school. So right now I have 3 devices that are listed under my AirWatch environment. I'm going to go ahead and select this one, and I'm going to click add. The moment I click add, it will move the device over to the right side. You can add as many devices you want. I'm just going to add one in my case. And once you add that, you're going to click save. That's it. It's as simple as that. So once you do that, it will create the smart group and you will be able to see it under your assignment groups. Right now you can see grade 3 English. It tells me what's the name of that group, it's part of which school, what type it is. It's a smart group, and it tells me how many devices are in that group. And the assignment tabs tells me whether it's assigned to specific apps or to specific web clips or anything like that. So remember I was telling you that any apps that you have purchased using VPP form previously before AirWatch, this should actually show it to you under this section. So if you come under your groups and setting, assignment groups, it will show up and it will tell you the app name as well as the school name. So right now at the moment I do not have access to that portion because I have not purchased an app previously using that form, so I do not have that. Now that we have done that, let me show you how to push out an app using this smart group that I have just created. To push out an app, you're gonna go over to apps and books section again. And then you're gonna go under, once again, you're gonna type in your school name right here. So I'm gonna type in my test environment name. So I'm gonna put in test. It should bring up that name. Now I'm gonna push out Google Sheets to my iPads. To push out Google Sheets to my iPads, I'm gonna click on Edit Assignment. I'm just gonna hover over my mouse. So it's the little icon right over here. Once you click on this, it will bring you up to a new window. Now, the first screen that you see where it says application eligible for device-based assignment, please note if you choose to enable this option, all iOS 9 Plus and macOS 10.11 Plus device will receive one license per device. What it essentially means is that if you do not click enable this of device assignment, every time you push out this app to say 10 device, all your device will keep prompting you to put in Apple ID and to provide a password for it. But when you enable this option, it will tell the device, hey, this device is managed by AirWatch and this app is also part of that AirWatch environment, so go ahead and install it. Okay, so now under the assignment section, I'm going to go under add assignment by license code by smart group. Once you click on this, it should show you list of all your smart group that you have created. So in my case, I will have multiple. So I'm going to click grade 3 English. Once I click that, you can see here how many devices I have here. I have 1 devices in here. I'm just going to get you to look to the left corner. And under the licensing section, it tells you how many licenses you have available. So usually for free apps, you'll notice there's 500 copies available. However, for purchased app, it will only be as many devices you have requested. So if you have 20 devices, you're going to purchase 20 licenses for it. So I can see here none has been redeemed. So I'm going to put in, oh, also one more thing. I would advise you always, if it's a free app, always double the amount. And the reason for that is, in future, if you want to add more device under this smart group, so right now I have 1 device. Suppose in future I will have 20 other devices in the smart group. I don't want to come back and increase this allocation number, or I don't want to, come back to this window. So you want to always put like a higher number than that, so that way any device you assign to this smart group will automatically get that app. Then we're going to move to the section of deployment. So assignment type, auto and on demand. So let me just explain what it means. So auto, by default, what it tells the device is that anytime any device gets assigned to the smart group, please push out this app to it. So you don't have to go to the catalog app that I showed you at the beginning of the webinar to install it. It will automatically push it out to your iPad the moment it gets assigned to the smart group. And the on-demand option makes it available. It doesn't push it out automatically to the iPad. It makes it available on the catalog, so you can go back and forth and install it from the catalog. And then I'm just going to switch it over, make it auto, and leave this option remove on roll checked. Make sure make app MDM manage if user install unchecked as well. And that's basically it. It's as simple as that. And you're going to click on save. Once you save that, it should start pushing the device to your iPad. Actually, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to take this allocation off. You don't have to follow that. I just simply did that because next time when I do a webinar, it's easier for me to show this part. Okay, so this could take up to a minute or so. I would love to show you, but my iPad is going through an iOS update at the moment because remember how I clicked on iOS update? So it looks like there is a update version available at the moment on the iPad, so that's why it's doing that. Okay, now let me show you how to push out a web clip using the smart group. So you'll hover over to the section of web clip, so the web, and then I'm going to click on add application. So once again, web clips is basically if you have a page that you frequently access and then it's very hard for you to remember, you could push out web clips using that. So I'm going to do add application. It will bring up the window. Make sure the organizational group ID says your school name, and for platform you're going to select Apple iOS because we're dealing with iPads, and then I'm going to click on continue. For name, I'm going to assign a name to it. So I'm going to do ServiceIT, and for URL, I'm actually going to open up the ServiceIT page here. Sorry. And I'm going to put the URL right in here. And now, if you want to assign an image to your web clip, you can go to the image section. I already have saved an image on my computer, so I'm going to click here, and then I'm just going to upload that image that I have. I'm going to click open, and then under assignment, here you're going to under assign group, you're going to select the smart group that you would like to push it out to. So I want to push it out to my grade 3 English class. I'm going to click on this, and then for exclusion, you're going to set it to no. And for push mode, once again, I'm going to select auto. So any device that are part of grade 3 English class, I want them to have this by default. But if you put it on demand, it's going to make it available on the catalog. Now, under advanced option, you have two options, removable. So I would say set it to no, and the reason is because you know how when you hold on an app on the iPad and it shakes and it has a cross beside it on the left corner, whether it says if you want to remove it. So by putting that, if you put removal to no, it doesn't give them the ability, whoever is using it, to remove that. And for full screen, you want to set it to no because you just don't want it to control or take over all your iPad screen. Okay, and I'm going to do save and publish. And it says added. So assignment status, it gives you the status of whether it has been added or not. And then I'm just going to click publish. Once I click publish, it will go over to my iPad. Once again, the reason I'm not able to show it because my iPad has decided to go through iOS update at the moment. Okay, now let me show you how to remove an app using the same method. So to remove an app, it's actually very simple. You're going to go to apps and books again. And then once again, you're going to type in the name of your school at the top right corner where it says search list. So I'm going to put in test. And if I go under Google Sheets, actually no, let's look for one that I have pushed out. So you can see here I have actually, let's use the Google Drive one. So I can see there is about 7 devices that have this one. So this part where it says associated, so you have 100 license available. It says purchase 100 license. And then actually let me zoom over here. So you can see 100 license were purchased, 7 associated, meaning 7 has been used on this device, and 93 remaining. So I'm going to go into this device right now. Sorry, this app right now. And to go in here, you're just going to simply click on the app itself. So I'm going to click on the app here. So you can see here, under the assignment section, it shows you which smart group it's assigned to. So simply, all you really have to do to remove the assignment is just click on this. And then it's going to ask you whether you are sure you want to remove this. And you're going to click OK. And then you're going to click Save. This will refresh the page and it will show you the reflected amount. It did not update on my AirWatch environment. It takes about a minute or so for it to update. Okay, I'm just gonna type in my school name again just to show you whether it has removed or not. whether it has been removed. So there, right now it's still showing 4. That's most likely because I have set up by default on the catalog on 4 device. I have hold, I said probably redeem, or I have put aside. Yeah. So externally redeemed 4. So apart from the AirWatch environment, I have set it up somewhere that I want to hold on to 4 license. So that's why it's not. But you can see here, it has removed it from the smart group that was assigned to it. Now, once you remove an app from a smart group, it just removes it from those devices. But it does not remove that app from your AirWatch environment. And the reason being that is that app will still be available on your AirWatch environment. So if you want to deploy it to more than one device, or like, another smart group, you can still do that. We have covered all the demo section. So I'm going to now show you that section where you can see all your previously purchased apps. So remember how I was telling you that any apps that you have purchased previously using the VPP form before AirWatch, where do you find it? So I'm just going to switch over, and I'm going to use a test school at the moment here. I'm going to use Chine Drive Public School. So I'm just going to switch over the schools for me. Your screen is completely different. You will not have access to this part, but yeah. So take this school for example. Now they have previously purchased apps. Those apps does not appear under apps and books section using the method we followed. It will appear under groups and setting. So I'm just going to wait for this to finish loading so that it doesn't slow us down. By the way, whatever instruction that I'm providing to you right now, you do not have to take note of it. We have all this instruction up on our ServiceIT website. I will show you the link to that, and we also have that posted underneath the YouTube video. It has training videos. It also has our latest webinar posted on there. And we will also provide you a feedback form at the end of this webinar. So if you have any feedback or any suggestion that you'd like to provide, we'll be happy to take it in, because honestly, this is this is really new for us. We're trying this to really help out the schools. Okay, so I'm going to click on Groups and Settings. I'm going to click on Groups and then Assignment Groups. So see how this school here has PS Drawing Pad, ABS Magnetic, I believe that's Alphabet, and then Book Creator. So these are paid apps. I won't be able to dive into the apps because I do not have permission here. But what happens is any apps that you purchase using your Mobile G account, using the VPP form, it will tell you how many devices that you can push this out to. So it can, right now for this one, Book Creator, the school can push it out to 19 devices. So remember, 1 license for 1 device. So right now you can see it's already assigned to a smart group for their school, and that smart group probably has that 19 device. So this is where you will come in and you will push out the apps that you will not see on your apps and books section and you have previously purchased it. Okay, so let's see what else we are missing. Okay, so here is the ServiceIT link that I was telling you about, the serviceit.tdsp.on.ca/mdm. I have it open and it sort of looks like this right here. This is actually a very good tool, frequently asked question. So here mostly most questions that are asked, you can click on here and it will show you the list of questions. We have training materials here, which has all the videos as well PDFs showing you step-by-step procedure. So if I miss something or if you want to know about something into detail, you could come into this section. And then the AirWatch webinar training session is what we are going through right now. So the latest link will be updated here. So if you missed any portion of this webinar, so if you joined a bit later on, you can come in here, you can open up that YouTube link and you can go through this. And if you need to contact the client service help desk, we are always happy to help. Our number is 416-395-4357 and it's option 5. And I just want to thank you all for participating in this AirWatch webinar. It's a pleasure assisting you. So if you have any question, feel free to go ahead and comment. My colleague Brandon and I will try our best to answer. Okay, so my colleague is just going to answer all the questions for you right now. So I'm just going to pass it over.
Okay, so hi there, my name is Brandon, and I just wanted to actually answer some of the questions we were getting in the chat while the webinar was going on. Suzanne, you had some interesting ones here, kind of caught me off guard, but I think I have an answer for you. So are you able to, well, let me just start with what I'm seeing in the chat right now, but are you able to export a list of devices? So you're referring to all the devices that are showing in AirWatch? I'm assuming that's what you meant, that if I see a list of the devices, to export a list of that. So if you go over to devices and then in your dashboard and you switch over to list view here, you'll see that this is the list of your iPad. So you would probably see, more than 3, but for our test environment we only have 3. But say I wanted to export this list here. There's actually an export button. It doesn't say, sorry, 1 second please. It doesn't say export, but if you hover your mouse over it, let me just highlight this for you. So at the top right hand corner there's layout, there's this little refresh button, and then there's this tiny button that sort of looks like an arrow escaping a box, and that is your export list button. What this will do is it will actually generate a spreadsheet on the exports page. Now I'm not sure if this is something, this is what I figure, we probably don't have access to it. So I might have to take that away to see why that is. I know Suzanne had actually asked earlier in the webinar how to export a list of apps, and I had the opportunity to test that out on my end, and it did work for the apps, but now that I'm just trying here, because that would be it. You would export, and then it says your files being exported. Once it's complete, it will be available on the download exports page. Let me just really quick over here. Oh, you're talking about switch roles?
Yeah, try switching the roles.
But that's our role. Right now we're trying to simulate a school. I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna take that back to our AirWatch and Mints because I think that is a pretty useful feature. But the option to export a list is there. It just looks like when you actually go to the exports page to retrieve that, we're getting access denied. Now this is the case for my rule, so it might be different for yours. Give it a shot actually if you have the screen open, and I'd like to know. But I will definitely take that away because that is a pretty useful feature, but technically possible. Whether it's active right now, not too sure. Susan asked during the webinar exporting a list of apps. So when you're on the apps and books page here, and then you're looking at the list view, the same sort of idea. Oh, sorry, let me just search out my school. So in this case, test school. So when you're on this page and you're looking at the list of your apps, let's say you wanted to export the list, the same button is also up here, that arrow sort of jumping out of the box. That will actually export the list for you. Now this one right away began downloading this CSV file, which actually opens up in Excel, and it's basically in text format. So I filtered out my school name, and this is sort of the spreadsheet it kind of spits out. Now it's maybe a little bit cryptic, but we do see the columns are sort of the same. Oh, sorry, I went to the chart. My apologies. Let me just reopen that because I don't know what I pressed. I'm just going to download that again. Alright, so there's the export. So this is the export that comes out. Again, it's in Excel, and you can see the headers at the top: icon, name, platform, app status. So it does match exactly what's on the page here. You know, icon, name, platform. But it is in Excel format, and that would give you a list. Now, you also asked if you could print the page, and I believe we tried this while we were talking. If you hold Control P here, you can obviously print the page as you see it, but the problem is that you're not going to see all the apps make it in the page here. It kind of gets cut off. So the best option would be to export it into a spreadsheet.
They also asked a question.
Can you print it so teachers can see the icons? Might be more useful. Yeah, so printing it. Yeah, so as I mentioned during the chat, on the at the bottom there's that page size where you can change it to 100, and that'll show you as many apps, I guess 100 apps within the page. But I think if you do Control P, yeah, that gets cut off. It just shows you one page because it tries to keep it in the frame. If I don't think. I mean, you can print it as you see. You might have to, like, see what you can see. Yeah, but that just collapses that. Yeah. I mean, it certainly doesn't fit in the page when you do that. Yeah, I think you'll have to export the list into a spreadsheet. I know that might be a little bit cumbersome without the icons, but it doesn't fit in the page unless you want to print the page multiple times. So if you can squeeze them all in, like if I wanted to get this part in and then I Control P, it'll show whatever it can squeeze in. So we can see here it got unknown agent, and I doubt that that's all of them though, because there's 20 apps and I only see less than 20 here. So yeah, Jen, unable to log in to AirWatch. You need to be added in as an AirWatch administrator, and it may be something that your principal hasn't done yet. I think we contact the schools beforehand, and maybe that step didn't quite work out. So we'll have to investigate that. But once you're added into AirWatch administrators group in LAS, you should have the ability to log in. You'll receive an email notification telling you that you have access afterwards. There was another one. So Suzanne, you asked actually you said something about whether or not your iOS device needs to be on the latest version for a certain app. So like I said, that actually falls on the onus of the app vendor. So for example, if I look up, let's see, Angry Birds, and I go to its page here, which happens to be somewhere down here. So this is the iTunes link. So this is this is Angry Birds as it appears in the iTunes App Store. And you'll see it'll actually show on the App Store what the compatibility requirements are. So in this case for Angry Birds, this will actually work going all the way back to iOS 7. Now this sort of information doesn't necessarily show in AirWatch, and there's no way to sort of break out an exported list. It's something that you would have to sort of investigate for the app ahead of time. So I hope that answers your question about that, because it's sort of, again, if it falls on the onus of the app developer, what sort of, what iOS version will this app work for? Sometimes, that a certain app may require that it's on the latest version of iOS. So that's why we sort of say try to keep your devices on the latest version, because the latest versions will probably have the latest features. But then again, it also sometimes goes the other way around. Sometimes an app will stop working on the newest version of iOS. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to answer, and it's not a black and white answer. It's not a binary in its response. It's sort of it really depends on the app. So I hope that answers that question. There was also let's see, export a list of apps. So yeah, we can do that in there, and then there's the latest version. So
What about the kids taking pictures on the
just before I answer that second question I just saw pop up in here, you actually also did mention earlier whether you can rename devices in bulk. Unfortunately, you cannot rename devices in bulk. I believe there is an option in the controls that you can turn on how the name will look by default, but that's sort of set by our AirWatch admin. So unfortunately, the devices, when they come in, the device name will by default sort of look cryptic, but somebody will have to go through each device and rename it to something friendly. It should only have to do that once, and once you do it, I mean, it's going to make your life significantly easier when you're looking at AirWatch. You also mentioned, can you update the devices in bulk? That I'm not too sure. I will have to take that away to our AirWatch admins. I'm pretty sure, just what I see from the interface, that if you wanted to update a device, you would have to go into each one and go to more actions and then update device, and that will force that one device to update to the latest version of iOS. What about kids taking pictures on iPads? Can we delete centrally, especially with our old devices? You cannot Well, I mean, you can manage the storage in a way that you could wipe the device, and when you wipe it, it comes back to its vanilla settings. But I guess, are you asking, can I remove individual photos on AirWatch? Let's say I can't seem to download iOS 10 on our old iPads. So some iPads are actually limited to which version of iOS they can run. A lot of the first generation, second generation of iPads are actually capped out, I believe, at 9.3.5. So you'll probably see a mixed environment where your older iPads are running 9.3.5, and they actually don't have the available update to 10.1 and beyond. That's unfortunately a limitation of the hardware. That's the cutoff point for those iPads, and that actually might signify that, you know, maybe these devices are actually approaching end of life, because they're certainly going to be approaching end of support if they can't run the latest version of iOS. But as you saw, like in the case of Angry Birds, some apps don't need to be on iOS 10. Some of them will actually work going all the way back to iOS 7. So it really all depends on the app. You might have an app that will give you a problem that it's not running iOS 10. But again, it all depends on the app. Who's developing the app, and did they develop it so that the features of the app are limited to you know, what's available on iOS 10 versus, you know, older versions? Is it backwards compatible? Let's say you want one app to go to all iPads, others only to specific smart groups. So, I mean, it really all depends on how you do your smart grouping for your AirWatch environment. You could do it so I could create a smart group, and the smart group applies to the library, right? And then I could then say any iPad that belongs to the library smart group gets this particular app. Or you can sort of frame your groups in a different way. Like, my group name is going to be called the app that I want. So say if I wanted, I could create a group called Angry Birds. And every iPad that is in the Angry Birds group will get the Angry Birds app. So it really all depends on how you want to structure your grouping. You can either do the group names based on its role or where it's located or how it's going to be used, or you could name the group based on an app. But the idea is that you group your iPads into these logical groups, and then you apply an app to the group, and then all the iPads that belong to that group will inherit it. So think of it sort of like I guess a Venn diagram, right? You can belong to multiple groups, one iPad. So I could have one in the library, but it also is it's not only is it in the library group and it gets all the library apps, but it's also, a very specific grade 5 iPad, and it gets all the apps that belong to the grade 5s. So I hope that makes sense. It's sort of the way it inherits its groups. But I will take that question away with what you said regarding kids taking pictures on the iPads and delete it centrally. If you wipe the device, evidently it'll be wiped, right? There'll be no data on the device when it comes back. But as far as being able to manage individual photos, I'm not too sure. I'm not sure what the monkey emoji is. Does that mean you can't hear me, or am I too loud? Is that a question? You get it, but how do you do that? Do what particularly?
Moving pictures, maybe.
Oh, how long have I been muted for? Is that what that monkey emoji means? Is that you couldn't hear me? Sorry about that. If you're only just hearing me again now, my apologies. I think I pushed the button. So how do I make an iPad part of two groups? So I'll just quickly run through that. So here, I'm popping back into the AirWatch console, right? Yeah, sorry about that, Tamana. Thanks for that. I didn't realize that. So now that the audio's back, I'm just going to pop over. So we go to Groups and Settings, right? And we go to our groups here, and we go to our our assignment groups here. And so right now I'm going to add a smart group. So just to follow along with my example of what I used earlier, I'm going to give the name of this group. I'm going to call it Cart 1 iPads. So all these iPads belong in Cart 1. And then I'm going to choose my iPad. So I'm going to use the one that I have next to me here. I'm not sure. Was it this one? Library iPad 5, Cart 1? Okay, so this is the iPad that I have next to me. I'm going to add it to this Cart 1 group, and I'm going to click Save. So now I have a smart group called Cart1 that has the iPad in it. Now let's say that same iPad also I wanted to get this very special app. So I've named the group this very special app, and I'm going to select that same iPad under devices, and there's that same iPad, and add. So now that library iPad belongs to two groups. I have this very special app and Cart1. So both those groups have that iPad in it. So now what I do when I switch back over to apps over here, and then I filter out my apps by typing in the school name. So these are all the apps here. And let's say that very special app I was referring to was, I don't know. Let's pick one. Sky Burger. Oh, you got it. Okay. All right. I just didn't want, I mean, I can keep going with it, but you get the idea, right? So now when I go into the app, I then would choose the the group that I just created for that very special app, and then I could then for another 3 apps I choose the Cart1 group. So you're applying the app to the group, and then the group obviously contains your devices. I hope that makes sense. Of course, right now, if you guys have to run, by all means, everything that we ask here will be recorded. But if you haven't already done so and you're here, could you just state your name in the chat for the sake of attendance? But if you have any further questions, please fire away. Recall somebody saying that they were having issues during the webinar, that when they fired up the agent app, that you were saying that it asked for like the email ID and the server address, and essentially what that means is that particular device is not enrolled. I'll see if I can try to simulate that, but basically it could be either that when you did the enrollment, it was either you wipe the device and then the device will come back and you have to enroll it, but it could be that either that device was updated. I'd really have to investigate that, so I'd actually prefer with that particular one you give us a call so we can look into that. One more. Where do I get instructions how to wipe iPads for AirWatch? Okay, so that is actually all located on our ServiceIT website for MDM. So the link is actually in the video description. Let's see if I have the. You can actually, yeah, I think so. If you scroll down and then look at the video description at the bottom, there's ServiceIT AirWatch. That's the first link. So where that'll take you is right here. This is this is the ServiceIT main page. There's actually on the ServiceIT main page, there is a banner here. It says Mobile Device Management, Setup, Manage iPads. And if you click the Learn More button, that'll take you to the MDM website. Now, when you're talking about getting these devices enrolled, so now you probably have a whole fleet of iPads at your school, and you want to probably get them into AirWatch now. What you're gonna follow here is under Training Materials. It's going to take you to this page, and what you want to do is the existing iPads enrollment. And what that'll basically instruct you is just how to wipe your device. There's a video of it, and then there's also a PDF of it here. So there's the PDF, and then you can of course press play, and there's I'll just mute that. You can press play, and it'll show you a demonstration of how to wipe your devices. So right now you have a bunch of devices that aren't in AirWatch. When you wipe it, what'll happen is automatically it will force it once you get to the setup menu, like the default setup menu when you first wipe a device. It'll force you to join AirWatch at that point. During the setup process, what's going to happen is it asks you for your school's it asks you for a username and password, which if you look at this guide here, I'm just going to download the PDF because obviously the video's got a lot of verbiage in it. But when you get to... Sorry, this is just instructions on how to erase the iPad. So this doesn't actually show you... Oh, here we go. Never mind. Sorry, it does. It shows you the actual setup. So it actually doesn't take very long to wipe the iPad. So to actually begin the wipe right now, in fact, heck, let me show you. Let's say I wanted to wipe this iPad. In fact, I'm going to wipe it because I'm hoping we're not going to need it again. But if I go to Settings... General, and then there is Reset at the bottom. Now, you don't see it here because this one's already enrolled, and as we demonstrated in the webinar, a lot of the features are actually locked out until I sign into the AirWatch agent, such as the App Store, such as the ability to set a passcode. And one of the things that's also locked out is the ability to reset all contents and settings, which isn't here. But there's another option for reset all contents and settings on here. And when you press that, it forces the device to wipe. So the actual wiping part, 5 to 10 minutes tops. And then once it comes back alive, then you get greeted with this screen here, the hello. And then this sort of will walk you through the setup. But really the biggest difference when you wipe a device now is at some point during the setup, it's going to ask you right here for the username and password. Let's see if I can blow that up here. It asks you here from the username and password. And that would be your 4-digit Trillium number for your school. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is a school Trillium number, and if you type in that for the username and the password, it forces it into AirWatch. Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Temanen. Appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, now is your chance. But of course, 9 to 5, we're here. Obviously, if you guys have to go, you can go, but feel free to ask questions if you want. Susan, anything else? Just gonna give you a few more seconds. So the password is AirWatch. I'm not sure what password you're referring to. If you're referring to what I just showed there during the initial setup here, let me just open up that PDF again. The password isn't AirWatch. When it says username and password, it asks you for your 4-digit Trillium number. So every school has a location number that consists of 4 digits. And I'm not sure what your particular school is. But for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm pretty sure belongs to a school. Let's see. Can I wipe many iPads at a time? No, you have to wipe them one at a time, unfortunately. And it's actually probably for good reason, too, because I don't know if you saw earlier in the demonstration, but if we go to devices and I want to wipe a device from AirWatch, one of the things it asks you for is that 4-digit PIN that you created, and that's to prevent you from accidentally wiping a device. So that you do them one at a time because that's sort of it's a very volatile step, right? To wipe a device, you probably wouldn't want to do a mass wipe in most cases. But if you're talking for the sake of getting yourself up and running and wiping these devices so you can get them all into AirWatch, that's going to be done one at a time. So I'd pick the iPad here. Let's say I wanted to wipe just one. I'd click, for example, Library iPad 5, and it'll take me to this page, and I go to More Actions, and then Device Wipe. And then it asks me, are you sure you want to wipe this device? And how I confirm that I'm sure is I type in my 4-digit PIN code here, and then it wipes it. So there's really no way to do that for all your iPads at once, and particularly if they're not enrolled. So if all your devices aren't currently in AirWatch because you haven't done the enrollment process here, that certainly wouldn't be the case either. But yeah, just what I was referring to with the password AirWatch. I think it'll make more sense if you follow the enrollment existing iPad document. It sort of explains how to get yourself going right now. So there you go. So you already know your school Trillium number. School username is 1301. So the password is also 1031. So username and password is the 4-digit Trillium number, exactly the same. So you'll find right now, if you pick up any device in your school and you wipe it completely, when it comes back online, there's going to be that extra step during the setup that says username and password, and that's where you type in that 4-digit number, 1031, both for the username and both for the password, and then that puts it into AirWatch. And that was to make your lives easier as far as enrollment goes. So, all right, Susan, you got to go. Thank you very much for attending. Appreciate it, Susan. Great questions. We're going to take some of those back for the next webinar. Aside from Susan, anyone else? Going once. Going twice. I see people are popping out here. All right, well, with that in mind, it is now 1 o'clock. We have way overstayed our welcome. So thank you very much once again. Oh, one more. Susan comes back. Just give that a second. Just giving a second to fire off that last question. I wonder if this is a prank where Susan, you say one more, and then she just leaves, and now we wait for eternity for that question. Just gonna hang tight here a little bit longer. I'm on the edge of my seat here. Oh, actually, while we wait, I did. I'm not sure if we mentioned, but there at the end of this webinar, you're going to get a feedback form, and if you felt that there was something that should have been covered on the webinar, or of course any sort of feedback you have regarding the webinar, type it in there, and that'd actually be helpful for us because we're going to be doing these probably every week or every other week. We haven't quite figured all that out yet, but we will be hosting these regularly because AirWatch is a very big tool, and it's going across the entire district school board. So we want to sort of offer these sort of weekly, these webinars, so that at any time somebody can come in and maybe fire off those questions, or if they miss something on the first webinar, they can always go back and watch the one that they had, or they can watch the latest one. So just to kind of keep everyone on the same page regarding AirWatch. So you will get that feedback form, and any feedback is appreciated because it helps us out a lot. We know what to include for the next one or anything of that sort. I'm going to assume that Susan has performed the world's greatest prank and has said one more, kept us on the edge of our seat, and then had to go. So with that, Susan, please, by all means, if you I'm probably hearing this or are not hearing this, or if you are hearing this, fire off that question to us at the client service desk. So give us a call. We'll be more than happy to answer that for you. But for now, that will be it, everyone. Thank you once again for attending the AirWatch webinar. You will be receiving that form, and we would like to hear all the feedback. If you have any questions regarding anything today, you can always contact the client service desk via phone, start a web chat conversation, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care and enjoy your Thursday. Bye bye.